Hello guys, we are back in new fanfic, and if enjoying this then please share and like part 1. Now let's start the fanfic. The third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen had a look of disappointment on his face as he looked down on the people of his village from his office in the Hokage Tower. The look of disappointment was not only for the people of the village but also for himself for his inability to protect the 6-year-old blonde child healing on his couch behind him. The 6-year-old was one Naruto Uzumaki, Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tailed Demon Fox. He was brought to the Hokage about 10 minutes ago after yet another attack by the people of this village who couldn't tell the difference between a kunai and the scroll it was sealed into. What have I condemned this child to? No one deserves the pain he's been through, thought Sarutobi. Sensing an incoming chakra, he turned towards the spot where an Anbu wearing a crow mask appeared in a shunsen. Report crow, he said in a stern voice. Hokage-sama, everyone involved with the attack on Naruto has been rounded up and taken to Ibiki. At last count there were 14 civilians, 3 genin, 3 chunin and 1 jonin, Crow replied in a monotone voice. Sighing deeply, the Hokage said, "Tell Ibiki no kid gloves. He has my full support to do whatever he wants to the shinobi. Give the civilians to Anko, tell her the only restrictions are they are to be kept alive. I want them to be made examples of for breaking my laws." Elsewhere in the village, "Why do I have the sudden urge to kiss the Hokage full on the mouth?" said the scarred interrogation specialist. "I don't know, but does it feel like Christmas to you?" asked his purple-haired partner. Kami, Crow thought, giving Ibiki and Anko free rein to do what they please. It would be more merciful to have themed after their quality time with those two. "Hi Hokage-sama," he said out loud and disappeared in a swirl of leaves. After Crow left, Sarutobi made his way over to the couch Naruto was sleeping on. Looking down on the child, he couldn't help but shake his head at what this village has done to such an innocent child. His usually golden blonde hair was caked with drying blood. His white shirt and blue shorts were torn and bloodied and his feet were dirty and bare. Not being able to stomach the thought of this happening to Naruto again, the Hokage made a decision. The only decision the Hokage knew of that could make up for the life Naruto has lived so far. Decision made, Sarutobi motioned for his hidden Anbu stationed around the office to reveal themselves. 4 Anbu appeared kneeling in front of the Hokage with their heads bowed. They were dog, crane, bear and lizard. "I'm about to initiate a SSS class protocol. You're all to wait outside until I call for you," he said. The Anbu hesitated for a moment. It was rare for such a code to used. An SSS class protocol was code for no matter what you hear, do not enter this office unless you're suicidal, and anyone who tries to enter the office no matter rank or position in the village. After receiving a glare from the Hokage, they all left to take up positions outside the room. After the Anbu left the room, the Hokage put up one of his strongest sound and security barriers. Moving to the center of the room, the Hokage pulled aside the plain black rug that was in the center of the room. Breaking the genjutsu on the floor, a very intricate seal was revealed. Biting his thumb, the Hokage knelt over the seal, wrote his name in the center of the seal and also placed his bloody fingerprints underneath his name like he would on signing summoning scroll. Next he made a hand seal with his index finger and middle fingers of both hands crossed with each other, shadow clone jutsu. He shouted and created 3 reinforced clones, each with about 20% of his chakra. After using that much chakra, he was panting slightly. "Alright, you know what to do. Each of you stand at a cardinal point of the seal." When each clone took a position, he continued, "Now we must all time this exactly. If even one of us is off, it won't work, so on the count of 3 we'll start the seals. 1, 2, 3. At 3 all 4 beings ran through 50 hand seals in a blur that only a master of the Sharingan could catch a glimpse of. On the last seal, all 4 beings slammed their hands down on a part of the seal in front of them. 2 things happened. The 3 clones disappeared in a puff of smoke, and a big black scroll with the kanji for fire on it sat in the middle of the seal on the floor. "That was amazing, Gigi. Do it again," said an excited childish voice said. Sarutobi turned surprised eyes to the voice. "Naruto-kun, how long have you been awake?" He asked, panting a little. Right before you slapped the ground and those extra U's disappeared, he said. Chuckling slightly, Sarutobi reached into his robes and pulled out a food pill. After eating the pill, he took a deep breath, already feeling most of his chakra returning. He then turned and picked up the scroll from the floor and went to the couch to sit next to the young blonde. How are you feeling, Naruto? He asked, already dreading the answer. Naruto gave a shrug of his small shoulders and looked at his Gigi with a sad smile. I'm fine, Gigi, I'm used to it by now. Sarutobi knew he didn't want an answer to that question. Naruto-kun, this scroll I hold in my hands is my apology for the life you have suffered here in the village. Before you interrupt, I want to explain what I mean. A 6-year-old child should not be used to waking up from repeated beatings from a mob. Nor should they be forced to live alone or withstand looks of anger and hatred. Naruto, 6 years ago a terrible disaster struck this village. The disaster was the 9-tailed fox. The foxed a lot of people that day and nearly destroyed the village in a single night. I know that, Gigi, you've told me this story before, said a confused Naruto. The 4th Hokage sacrificed himself in it. The 9-tailed fox was a chakra construct, it had no life to end. The 4th Hokage couldn't such a being, so he sealed it away. Now Naruto wasn't stupid by any means. He could put 2 and 2 together and get 4, the isolation from the other villagers, the looks, the beatings. So he sealed it in me. Why me? Out of everyone in the village, why did he choose me? He asked, on the verge of tears. Sighing, the Hokage walked to his desk and retrieved a framed picture from one of the drawers and brought it back to Naruto. This is a picture of the 4th Hokage and his wife, the old man said, handing the picture to Naruto. Naruto turned the picture around and gasped at the sight. In the picture was a man with his wild blonde hair and blue eyes standing behind a woman with deep red hair and violet eyes. They were both smiling softly at the camera, and the woman had a noticeable swell in her stomach. These are your parents, Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze. Kushina was the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi before you were. He stopped there when Naruto looked at him with shock. Yes, it's true. On the night of your birth, Minato and I took great precaution because we knew that the seal holding the Kyuubi in Kushina would weaken with the strain of childbirth. I don't know the details because I wasn't there, but someone infiltrated the birthing chamber and released the Kyuubi from the seal on your mother. By the time I arrived on the scene to possibly help Minato, the Kyuubi was already sealed within you and Minato was dying. His wish was for you to be seen as a hero, but the people refused to acknowledge your parents' sacrifice and Minato's wish. Old man, I'm a constant reminder of what they lost that night. It's no wonder they hate me. They were both quiet for a while before Naruto decided to get to the point of these discoveries. You're telling me all this for a reason, so what is it? Is that scroll something my parents left for me? He asked. Picking up the big scroll, the Hokage laid it across his lap before speaking. No, Naruto, this is not something your parents left for you. This is the village's most well-kept secret and most valuable treasures. The contents within this scroll will help you become one of the most powerful shinobi ever to walk the elemental nations. You will even become more powerful than me someday, he said, looking straight into Naruto's eyes. To say Naruto was shocked would be an understatement. He was shocked not only by what the old man said but also by the look in his eyes. He had never seen that look before. You're starting to scare me a little, Gigi. Why would you give me all this power? What if I used it to destroy the village instead of help it? After what I've seen this village become for the past 6 years, they deserve every bit of your hatred, and so do I. 6 years ago I placed my faith in the people of Konoha to look beyond their fear and hatred of the Kyuubi and see a child with a heavy burden to bear. I misplaced my faith in so many people. By giving you this scroll, I'm asking you to forgive an old man his mistakes, he said solemnly. I'm not stupid, Gigi. I know you can't be there all the time. You have an entire village to look after, not just one person. You were there when you could be. You tried, and that counts for something, so I forgive you. Thank you, Naruto, but nevertheless I still want you to give you this, he said, pointing at the scroll in his lap. Okay, I'll accept it, but what's in it and how can it make me even stronger than you? Naruto asked curiously. Naruto, what I'm about to reveal is a Hokage's secret. The only people who know about it are the Hokages themselves and their successors, he said, standing up and moving to the center of the room. He unraveled the scroll, revealing 4 sections of the scroll, each marked with a 1, 2, 3 and 4. Like before, he bit his thumb hard enough to draw blood, and in each section he wrote his name and left his bloody handprint. Turning back to Naruto, he said, "What I'm about to do is something that should only be done in an emergency, and I think your situation qualifies." After speaking, he turned back to the scroll and went through the hand seals for a simple summoning jutsu and slammed his hands down on the floor. The symbols for the summoning jutsu spread out on the floor until they reached the scroll, and a summoning circle appeared in each section under the numbers. 4 puffs of smoke erupted from each section of the scroll. When the smoke cleared, 4 men were revealed. The first man had dark tanned skin, brown eyes and long black hair. He was wearing red metal plating armor similar to samurais and black ninja sandals. On the collar of his armor was the Senju clan symbol, and he was also wearing a hitai on his forehead with the Konoha symbol. The second man had shaggy white hair, red eyes and red streaks under each eye, on one on his chin. He also wore samurai armor similar to the first man, only blue in color, black ninja sandals and a face guard with the Konoha symbol on the front. The third man had brown eyes with black vertical slits beneath them, brown spiked hair and a small goatee. He wore a black full-body jumpsuit with a mesh shirt beneath the top. There were gray armor plates on both shoulders, and he wore a hitai with long black straps across his forehead. The last man was fair-skinned with cerulean blue eyes and spiky blonde hair and 2 bangs that framed the sides of his face. He wore the standard Konoha Jonin uniform with 2 bands on each sleeve, green flak jacket and a Konoha hitai across his forehead. He also wore a short-sleeved trench coat with flames at the bottom. These men were the first, second, third and fourth Hokages of Konoha. How pissed would you be if I stopped on a cliffhanger like that? The former Hokages took a moment to orient themselves before they focused on the person who summoned them. The first to speak was Hashirama Senju, the first Hokage. "You've got an old Saru," he said, looking at his former student. Old Sarutobi's sweat dropped at hearing that out of the mouth of a man he hadn't seen in over 40 years. "Thank you, sensei, I've missed you too," he said sarcastically. "It's nice to see you again, monkey brat," said Tobirama Senju, the second Hokage. "Thank you, sensei. It's nice to see you too," responded old Sarutobi. "You are one handsome man," said the Sarutobi that looked at least 30 years younger than the other. "When you're right, who am I to disagree with you," said the old Sarutobi. "While it is nice to see you again, if you summoned us, then what's the emergency?" asked the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze. "Hey, who's the blonde brat?" asked Tobirama. "This is my successor, the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze. Minato, allow me to introduce my senseis and your predecessors, the first and second Hokage, Hashirama and Tobirama Senju," the old Hokage said formally. The 3 men bowed deeply to each other. When Tobirama straightened, he spoke again. "Nice to meet you, Minato, but I was actually talking about the other blonde brat with his jaw on the floor and his eyes bugging out," he said, pointing at Naruto over on the couch. True to his word, Naruto's eyes were as big as ramen bowls and his jaw was sitting in his lap. He had been sitting like that since the smoke cleared to reveal each man. As each man was revealed, his eyes got progressively larger, but it wasn't until the 4th was revealed that his jaw fell open. "He's right there. My father. How can he be there when he died 6 years ago?" thought Naruto. "This gentleman is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. He is the reason I've summoned you all. Naruto carries a burden all of you are familiar with. The Kyuubi," they all said at the same time. "What, how did you know that?" asked Naruto. "I was married to the first Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, and I've also had the misfortune to fight the beast on more than one occasion," said Hashirama. "I'm a sensor, I can feel the 2 different energies flowing through you," said Tobirama. "I'm a sensor as well, and I've spent a lot of time around the first 2 Jinchurikas of the Kyuubi," said the young Sarutobi. Minato slowly approached what could only be his son and kneeled down in front of him, frowning when he spotted the blood on his clothes. Like the first Hokage, I was in love with a Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, so I know what the Kyuubi feels like, even sealed away. What happened to your clothes, Naruto? He asked casually. Before Naruto could answer, old Sarutobi spoke. I will explain that, but first, Naruto, I want to explain to you how the former Hokages are here. Do you remember when you first woke up here and you saw those copies of me before they went up in smoke? Yes, Gigi. Well, those were called shadow clones. There are many different types of clones ninja use in combat, like water clones or earth clones. These 4 Hokages are also a type of clone, they're called blood clones. The blood clone jutsu makes a complete copy of that person's memory and can fully utilize its very own chakra network. Where most clones would disperse after a strong hit or even when their maker died, these clones could live independently of their creator. There are drawbacks to using this jutsu. You must sacrifice half of your blood and 90% of your chakra. When I used this jutsu, I was in a coma for a week. If someone were to try to use this jutsu when they were not 100% healthy, it could very well them, which is why it's not even listed on the Forbidden Scroll. It is only passed from Hokage to successor. If you recall, I told you that there was a Hokage's secret that only the Hokage himself and his successor knew. Well, that secret is that whenever someone accepts the title of Hokage, they are required to perform the blood clone jutsu and seal it away in that black scroll they came out of. They were only to be released in case of dire emergency. The reason I released them was to give you something every child deserves, and that is family and protection. Even though this is only a clone of your father, it's the closest I could come to giving you the family that was taken from you. Naruto couldn't take it anymore. He jumped off the couch and rushed to the old Hokage, wrapped him in a hug as tight as he could and cried his eyes out. Sarutobi did his best to hold back his own tears, but they rolled down his cheeks anyway. After about 10 minutes, Naruto had cried himself to sleep and Sarutobi returned him to the couch so he could be comfortable. With that done, he turned and faced the clones of his fellow Kages. Sarutobi, what the hell is going on? Demanded the clone of the 4th Hokage. Sighing deeply, the old Sarutobi explained Naruto's life up to this point. By the time he was finished, the clones ran the emotional gauntlet from disappointment in the village they all vowed to protect with their lives to downright murderous. Although the 4th also had a healthy dose of shame, knowing he, or rather the original, condemned Naruto to this existence. If I could, I would kick my own from here to Snow Country, the 4th Hokage's clone said miserably. You have an opportunity your creator will never have. You can be there for him now. You can train him to defend himself. All of you can. That's why I released you from the scroll in the first place. I want all of you to train him. Whoever interfered with Kushina during her childbirth knew what they were doing when they released the Kyuubi. I'm afraid whoever it was is not done yet and will come after Naruto sooner or later, and being trained by 4 Kages, he will have a better chance of surviving. The original Sarutobi said. Do you even have to ask? Naruto will be the most dangerous man in the world when I'm done training him, said the Minato clone. You mean when we're done training him? Said the clone of the 1st. Even if he wasn't a distant relative, I would still train him. I'm with you, brother. What this village has done to a child is beyond forgiving. We will make him a force to be reckoned with, spoke the clone of the 2nd. The clone of the 3rd Hokage looked his creator in the eye. If I know you, and I think I do, you've beating yourself over not being able to protect him. Don't worry, I'll do what you couldn't, he said. The original Sarutobi just looked at his clone and nodded his head gratefully. I think it's time we leave, said the 1st Hokage. Where do we go? We can't possibly train the kid in the village, stated Tobirama. The Whirlpool Village, said the 4th. It has been abandoned for years. No one would think to look for anyone there, and from what Kushina told me of it, it's a solitary island surrounded by whirlpools, so it's very isolated. We could get some serious training done with minimum interruptions. As he spoke, he made his way over to the couch Naruto rested on and gently lifted him in his arms. I have some weapons stashed in my head on the Hokage monument. I'll pick them up and meet you all at the border of Fire Country and Water Country in 3 hours. Sound good? We all should have similar stashes and it would be better if we split up in case we're spotted. I'll see you in 3 hours, said the clone of the third bee. He disappeared in a leaf shunsen. When the clone of the third left, the clone of the fourth disappeared in a flash of yellow with the still sleeping Naruto in his arms. Well, I guess this is goodbye again, monkey brat. Next time you see that kid, he'll be able to go toe to toe with your best without breaking a sweat, guaranteed, said the clone of the second before he disappeared in a water shunsen. I can tell your will of fire, dim Saru, but with this act you are stoking it to an inferno. Goodbye, my student, said the clone of first before he simply melded into the floor and was gone. Sighing, the Hokage moved to the window overlooking the village, wondering what the future would bring to his village. 1 week later, Uzushiogakure, currently a 6-year-old Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, was in an open grass area in front of his 4 senseis about to begin his training in the ninja arts. He was wearing simple loose-fitting black pants, gray kimono top with a mesh armor shirt beneath it with a black sash holding the kimono together, and black shinobi sandals. He was standing at attention, hands at his sides, eyes forward, waiting for his senseis to begin explaining his training. He didn't have to wait long because the first Hokage stepped forward and began. Well, Naruto, I'm glad to see you're mentally ready to begin training. The coming years will be difficult. We intend to train you until you die and drop, and then we will resurrect you and rain you some more, he said, looking his student in the eye. We are masters of the shinobi arts, you are the student. It is our job to teach you and it is your job to learn, he said in a stern but kindly tone. Are you ready to begin? Yes, Hashirama-sensei, Naruto said quickly. Good, let us begin. And so began the training of a legend by legends. I need a drink, was the utmost thought of one Naruto Namikaze as he walked down the street towards a bar in Otofuku-gai. It's been 10 years since he began his torturous training in the shinobi arts. 9 years of training under his senseis and 1 year of real-world experience as a bounty hunter known only as Arashi. Naruto was now 6 feet 1 inch tall, chiseled, medium-build body. His blonde hair that was in his youth short and spiky was now cornrowed towards the back of his head, and the end of which reached between his shoulder blades, and a face mask that covered everything from his nose to his throat. He was wearing a green camouflage flak jacket with a black t-shirt underneath. Over the flak jacket he wore a black sleeveless leather trench coat, and both his arms were wrapped in black athletic tape from elbow to wrist, and on his hands were black fingerless gloves. He was also wearing Anbu-style pants with gray shin guards over black shinobi sandals. I need that drink and I need it now, Naruto thought with some urgency. The reason he was in need of a drink was because tomorrow he was going back to the village of his birth and offer his services as a shinobi. He promised his senseis he would give the village a chance to redeem themselves after what they did to him. He hasn't forgotten his earlier childhood, and he damn sure hasn't forgiven the people who tormented him. Naruto hastened his steps towards the bar so he could try and drown out the feeling of impending doom the thought of going back to the hidden leaf had created. When Naruto entered the tavern, he headed straight for the bar and a bottle of sake. Bar, keep a bottle of sake over here, he said to the man behind the counter. You old enough to be in here, son? The man asked. Look, don't give me a hard time. If I can't hold my liquor, then I shouldn't be drinking and I would deserve whatever I got. Just give me the damn bottle, he said sharply. Whatever, I'm not responsible just because you wanted to play grown up, he said, sitting down a bottle of sake and a saucer. Yeah, Naruto said, foregoing the saucer and drinking straight from the bottle. After downing half the bottle, Naruto felt his nerves equalize again. Scanning the bar, he let his eyes drift over the other patrons. It was just the usual assortment of people found in the less reputable bars in every town. Drunks, hookers, small-time crooks, no one worth the hassle of getting in a fight with. He was about to turn back to his bottle when his eyes pierced the darkness of a corner table and he spotted a woman about 25 years old nursing a saucer of sake. She is too pretty to drink alone, he said quietly to himself before he raised his voice to the barkeep. Another bottle over. After receiving another bottle, he made his way over to her table and stopped just before entering the shadows himself. Excuse me, miss, but you are way too pretty to be drinking alone, he said. The woman looked up from her saucer and stared at him with a pair of hypnotic dark eyes. I bet you say that to all the girls in dive bars like this, she said mockingly. There's never any one of your caliber of pretty in dive bars like this. I guess I just lucked out. May I join you? Sure. I wouldn't mind the company, she said with a small smile. How about a refill? He asked, holding up the sake bottle. In response, she just slid her saucer closer to him. After pouring himself a saucer full, he held it up out toward the woman across from him. To new acquaintances, he toasted. To new acquaintances, she said. Naruto and Anko were stumbling through Anko's apartment door in a frenzy of kissing and groping each other. Do you think that they will be upset we stuck them with the bill? Naruto asked between kisses. Moaning as Naruto moved from her lips to ing on her nipples through her shirt, she said, there. Oh. Used to being stuck with the bill with me. Zip. There goes Naruto's flak jacket. Whoosh. There goes Anko's trench coat. Come on, Blondie. Let's see if you really have staying power, Anko said, grabbing Naruto's hand and leading him into her bedroom. In a matter of minutes they were rolling around on Anko's bed, each one trying to come out on top of the other. Naruto ended up on top and moved from her lips to the side of her neck, pressing his tongue into the nerve cluster between her shoulder and neck. There was a muscle with a nerve running through it that usually got a woman juicing like never before. Taking her shivers as a good sign, Naruto slid his hand down her stomach and right to her moist lips. Spreading her folds, he immediately pushed a finger into her core while at the same time using his thumb to massage her. Oh my Kami, that feels good. Taking her moaning as another good sign, Naruto added a second finger to her and massaged her just a little rougher. It wasn't long before she came quite vocally with a shriek of pleasure and wetness all over his hand. You're delicious, Anko, he said softly while licking his fingers and staring her in the eyes. My turn, she said, smiling seductively before she rolled Naruto on his back and began kissing down his rock-hard chest and eight-pack abs. She didn't stop until she got to his that was standing tall and straight like a proud shoulder. She began by slowly licking the base, working her way up with little flicks of her tongue. Naruto reached past her arm and began gently stroking Anko's magnificent S, causing her to moan around his length in her mouth. Oh Kami, that feels good. Naruto moaned as she took his entire length in her mouth and down her throat. He looked down to watch the purple-haired beauty slowly and repeatedly engulf his from tip to base, before she changed up the tempo and began bobbing her head up and down his length in rapid succession. Thankfully, she went back to deep-throating him at a slow pace, and Naruto took that opportunity to reach around and drag her closer to him to reach between her legs and began stroking her moist folds again, eliciting another moan from her. When he felt Anko shuddering slightly, he pulled her off his with a wet pop, laid her beneath him and entered her in one deep thrust where their pelvis bones met, getting a moan of pleasure and a gasp. Naruto tried very hard not to concentrate on the fact he was ing the hell out of one of the hottest women he had ever met so far. He could feel his balls warning him that he was going to explode soon, so he did what he usually did to stave off his orgasm. He mentally went through hand seals. That always got him to back off. Anko was meeting him thrust for the moment, so Naruto hooked her left leg over his elbow and for the next 5 minutes switched between slow measured strokes and a rapid pounding that had the sound of flesh echoing through the room. That really got her going. Anko let out screaming orgasm that was surely heard throughout her complex. He stopped to let her catch her breath. He wasn't even winded yet. He looked down at the purple-haired woman beneath. You okay, Anko-chan? Anko was panting slightly and looked at him like he had to heads. Of course I'm alright. You think a couple of great orgasms are going to put me to sleep? You need more than that for me to call it quits. The smirk on Naruto's face could be considered pure evil. Good, because I'm just getting started and we have all night, he said, sliding back into her. Anko gasped with pleasure when he was fully seated within her, but then what he said kicked in. She looked up at him with pleading eyes. Oh Kami. Have mercy. Not hardly, he said gruffly. This time he kept her on the brink of orgasm without ever letting her have a release. He would pound into her until he felt her walls begin to tighten around his manhood, and then he would slow down to slow methodical strokes. This kept on for the next hour until Anko was on the verge of hysteria beneath him, begging to let her come. Feeling his own build-up, Naruto pounded into Anko for all he was worth. She came with a scream that definitely made it out of the apartment complex. Naruto wasn't far behind as her gripped his, and he came with a toe-curling emptying of his balls into her snatch. Naruto rolled off of Anko and laid next to her, trying to catch his breath. "How you doing, Anko?" he asked, panting slightly. Was her only response. Naruto smiled to himself. "I might actually like it here." 6 months later. "Aw man, I'm so bored." Arashi complained out loud for anyone to hear. It's been just over 6 months since he entered into the service of Konoha, and it's been just over 6 months of a living hell. Well, not complete hell. Anko has been a continuous bright spot for him. But other than Anko, it's been errands for the Hokage, chores for the civilians, and training. He's on his way to the Hokage now after receiving word that he wanted to see him. Deciding to forego the long walk, he used the Shunshin Jutsu to appear directly at the outer door of the Hokage's office. He was about to knock when he heard a loud, "Enter." "You sent for me, Hokage-sama?" he asked. "Yes, I did, Arashi," the Hokage said, looking up from his paperwork. "I've found a team for you. It's a brand new genin squad that just graduated the academy. One of the members had a nervous breakdown after the Capture Tora mission and now refuses to leave his home, so that leaves an opening for you," he explained. Naruto bowed his head in a moment of silence for whoever that poor bastard was. He himself had to catch Tora at least 10 times in the last 6 months by himself, and if he had to catch that thing again, he would not be responsible for his actions. "So whose team am I on? I know that the only new squads belong to Asuma, Kurenai and Kakashi. So who is the lucky winner?" "That would be Kakashi. I have some more good news for you. Kakashi put in for a C-rank mission before he discovered his students' mental issues. They should be waiting at the East Gate for you right now. I know being cooped up in the village has been grating on you, so take this chance to stretch your legs." Naruto I smiled at the old man. "Thank you, Hokage-sama, it'll be good to travel again." "If they're waiting, I better get going," he said, making his way to the door. "East Gate. Kakashi-sensei, what are we waiting for? We were supposed to leave 10 minutes ago," questioned one pink-haired impatient kunoichi named Sakura Haruno. She was standing next to an equally impatient Sasuke Uchiha. They're both wearing canon outfits. "I got lazy this far into the chapter. We are waiting for your new teammate. He should be arriving soon, so just be patient a little longer," he said with his nose in his favorite book. Tazuna, the man they were to escort on this mission, just leaned against the gate seemingly without a care in the world. "No need to wait any longer, I'm here," Naruto announced from on top of the guard's shack to the side of the gate. Tazuna, Sakura and Sasuke were visibly surprised by the sudden appearance of another human being. Where did he come from? Sakura thought frantically. "Damn it, I didn't even know he was there until he spoke." Sasuke thought, mad at himself for dropping his guard. Tazuna's response to the sudden appearance was to reach for his jug of sake and take a swig to steady his nerves. "Well, since we're all here, because Kato is unable to continue his career, this is his replacement, Arashi. Arashi, this is Sakura Haruno and Sasuke Uchiha. The man leaning on the gate is Tazuna, the bridge builder. It's our mission to get him back to his country of wave and protect him while he finishes his bridge. We can save the proper introductions for later, we're already behind schedule, we should get going," Kakashi said, turning and moving towards the gate. "Well, it's nice meeting the both of you, I hope we can work well together," Arashi said and followed Kakashi out the gate. Sakura and Sasuke followed behind the two after that very brief introduction. The new Team 7 was currently walking in the diamond formation. Arashi was at the front, having more experience than the other two and thereby being more able to spot an ambush or enemy shinobi. Sakura and Sasuke were to the left and right of Tazuna, who was in the center with Kakashi bringing up the rear. An hour after quiet traveling, Sakura decided to break the silence and try and get some information on her new masked teammate. So Arashi-san, I don't recall seeing you in the academy. How long have you been a shinobi? She asked. Sasuke broke himself out of his brooding enough to listen in on the conversation, because even though he was curious, he would be damned before he actually asked any questions himself. Well, officially only about 6 months, but I was a bounty hunter before joining Konoha, he replied. What was that like? It was okay. I wasn't tied down to one place and I could take any job I wanted to or refuse a job if I wanted to with no consequences. As they were talking, Arashi was constantly surveying his surroundings, never dropping his guard as he was taught, which is why he caught the very pitiful genjutsu disguised as a puddle and held up a hand, calling a halt to the walk. That's not a very good cover. It hasn't rained in at least a week. You would have had better luck disguising yourselves as a puddle of piss, Arashi said, much to the confusion of 3 out of the other 4 people there. Up out of the puddle rose 2 men in tattered cloaks. Both men had breathing masks on and headbands from the hidden mist village. They were also wearing iron-clawed gauntlets connected to each other's hand by a shuriken chain. Very funny, Blondie. Now why don't you hand over the old man and I give you my word to you quickly, the one on the right said. The demon brothers, Maizu and Gozu, Chunin level missing nin from the hidden mist. Why don't you two give us the name of whoever hired you and I give you my word that you'll spend less time in the torture and interrogation division than necessary, Kakashi said casually as he walked up to the front of the formation, his book nowhere in sight. The demon brothers shared a brief glance before they both said, no deal, and attacked. Arashi, Sasuke, take them. Kakashi ordered. The brothers separated to extend the shuriken chain attached to their gauntlets and rushed forward to wrap it around the 2 genin who met them halfway. Arashi quickly summoned a shuriken and infused it with wind chakra and threw it at the chain connecting the 2 together. The chain was cut cleanly in half. Arashi put on a burst of speed and appeared in front the brother that had spoken. I'm just going to name this one Gozu. Gozu only had one thought before he felt an explosion of pain, then nothing, fast. Naruto grabbed the back of his opponent's head and pulled it down while performing a jumping knee strike to the face. Gozu was lifted off the ground and thrown back by the power behind the attack. Before gravity could do its job, Arashi appeared above the still floating Gozu and hit him with a heel drop to the stomach, driving Gozu into the ground and creating a small crater. Brother, you should worry more about yourself, Sasuke said, appearing next to the distracted Maizu and delivering a bone-cracking kick to his ribs that sent him head first into a tree, knocking him unconscious. Both fights took less than 5 seconds. Kakashi was smiling at his 2 students as he tied the 2 unconscious brothers up. Very good, both of you, no hesitation, and you exploited their weaknesses. Now Tazuna-san, he said, dropping the smile and leaking very milding intent, you mind telling me why you're important enough to have Chunin level ninja after you? After listening to Tazuna stammer his way through his story, Kakashi put the fate of the mission to a team vote. It's up to you guys if we continue or not. This mission will only get more difficult from here on out, he cautioned. That's true. The demon brothers are now negotiates of Zabuza Momochi. If these 2 are here, then he's probably going to be the next obstacle we come across. I'm in, Arashi said. So am I. This is my first mission outside the village. I refuse to have an incomplete on my record, Sasuke said. I'm going too. If Sasuke-kun's going, so am I. It was a tense group of 5 people making their way out of a rowboat onto the main island of Wave Country. Knowing they could be attacked at any moment by someone of Zabuza's caliber had everyone on full alert throughout their travels. The group had resumed the diamond formation with Arashi and Kakashi switching positions, with Kakashi on point and Arashi watching everyone's back. It was a silent walk. Even Sakura kept her silence after the ordeal with the demon brothers. A rustle in the bushes to the right of the formation had everyone tensing even further, ready for whatever was to come next. Sasuke was the first to react, launching a kunai in the direction of the noise. Arashi, check it out, Kakashi ordered. Summoning a kunai from the storage seal on the palm side of his right-hand glove, Arashi approached the bush cautiously. Looking beyond the bush, Arashi relaxed slightly as he saw the kunai stuck in a tree just above the head of a scared white rabbit. He picked up the rabbit and kunai and went back to the group. Just a rabbit. Here's your kunai, he said, handing the weapon back to Sasuke, who put it away without a word. The fur of the rabbit is all wrong for this time of year. It should have a brown coat. This animal was raised indoors. As soon as Kakashi finished speaking, a very audible whistle could be heard. Get down! Kakashi screamed before dragging Tazuna to the ground with him. In a blur of motion, a massive sword flew over their heads and embedded itself in a tree on the other side of the road they were traveling on. A moment after the sword was lodged in the tree, a figure appeared on the handle. He was fairly tall, muscular man with pale skin, short spiky black hair, brown eyes and almost non-existent eyebrows. White bandages covered the lower half of his face and he had a headband turned sideways on his head. He had no shirt on, just a thick leather strap, most likely used to carry his massive zanbanto. He also had on baggy striped pants, arm and leg warmers. Well, if it isn't copycat Kakashi. When I saw you I knew why the demon brothers failed. I'm surprised to see you toting these 3 brats along with you, the still unnamed swordsman said mockingly. Zabuza Momochi, demon of the bloody mist. To be honest with you, the only thing I did to the demon brothers was tie them up, these 2 brats as you call them, he said, gesturing towards Arashi and Sasuke. Took care of them like they were academy students, Kakashi said back smugly. Zabuza narrowed his eyes on first Sasuke and then Arashi before dismissing them. HMPF. Don't make me laugh, Kakashi. Why don't you hand over the old man and I'll do you the favor of letting your students leave with their lives. Sasuke was clenching and unclenching his fists in anger, first at the meaningless talk going on between the two and then at being so casually dismissed. Who the hell does this guy think he is? Doesn't he know I'm from the elite Uchiha clan? I'll show this bastard not to dismiss me. He was about to charge him when he was brought up short by Kakashi's voice. Stay in formation, Sasuke. He is beyond your skills at the moment, Kakashi said, never taking his eyes off Zabuza. The great Kakashi Hatake playing babysitter to a bunch of wet behind the ears twerps, how the mighty have fallen, Zabuza said. What about your own student Zabuza? Arashi asked, speaking for the first time since Zabuza's appearance. Zabuza's eyes widened in surprise briefly before he returned to a neutral expression. The shock was not missed by Arashi or Kakashi. What student are you talking about, boy? Zabuza asked in a condescending tone. The one who left the scent of medicinal herbs on the fur of this rabbit, he said, holding up the animal he hadn't let go since he picked it up. The same scent of medicinal herbs being carried on the wind in our direction from about 50 yards to our right, he said matter-of-factly. Zabuza was shocked that this brat had pinpointed Haku's position on scent alone. Who is this kid? If I can't fight him, his student will have to do, Sasuke thought before he took off into the trees in the direction Arashi had indicated his opponent would be in, ignoring Kakashi and Sakura's shouts. Stupid angst-ridden little bastard. If he survives all the little shit myself, Kakashi thought to himself. Chuckling to himself, Zabuza grabbed the rest of the group's attention. Don't worry, I doubt if he is outrighted. If you get past me you might have a chance to save him, so how about we get started? He said, disappearing from the tree with his sword and reappearing standing on a nearby river, already finishing a handseal hidden mist jutsu. After announcing his jutsu, a thick mist rolled in from the river and trees, completely obscuring everyone's view. Zabuza's voice was projected throughout the mist. 8 points on the human body that guarantees death: larynx, spine, lungs, liver, jugular, subclavian artery, kidneys and heart. Which one should I aim for? As he was naming the spots, he was also increasing his intent. By the time he got to the heart, Tazuna was sweating bullets and was moments from passing out. Sakura wasn't far behind him. I don't want to die. I can't take this, it feels like my lungs are about to explode. I have to end this now. With those frantic thoughts, Sakura reached for a kunai in her weapon's pouch, ready to end her torment, when someone stayed her hand. She followed the gloved hand into the piercing blue eyes of Arashi. You can get through this, Sakura. The only way to countering intent is with some of your own. Imagine, Zabuza just said. Sasuke was gay. Arashi stepped back and nodded his head as a fire was lit in Sakura's eyes as she released enough intent to take her mind off herself. Good job, both of you. Now enough with the hide and seek, Zabuza, Kakashi said. You're right, that is enough because this game is over, Zabuza said, looming up behind Tazuna with his sword above his head about to bring it down on the startled bridge builder. You're finished, he said, bringing his weapon down. Squelch. Drip. 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 Water clone. Kakashi exclaimed as Arashi pulled Tazuna and Sakura out of the immediate area of combat so they wouldn't be caught in the crossfire. You didn't think it would that easy, did you, Kakashi? Zabuza said, appearing behind Kakashi, cutting him in half only for the body to disperse into water. What? He said, surprised before he stilled as he felt a knife at his throat. I didn't expect it to be easy, Zabuza, but apparently you did, Kakashi said, appearing behind the startled swordsman with his Sharingan eye exposed. Zabuza turned slightly to look at him. Ah, the Sharingan, you copied my jutsu even through the mist. I'm honored you have the need to use it. Good, you can take that honor with you to the afterlife, Kakashi said and stabbed Zabuza in the throat only for it to be another water clone. Zabuza came out of the foliage in a burst of speed, prepared to kick Kakashi into the river when his leg was blocked by a forearm and his ankle was grabbed in a vice-like grip. He had enough time to be surprised at the fact that the blonde brat was the one to block his attack before Kakashi delivered a side kick square to his chest that sent him skidding along the ground and into the river himself. I was wondering when you would come out of hiding. I was about to come in and get you, Arashi said. How did you know I was hiding? Tapping his ear slightly. Water clones don't have heartbeats, he said simply. You're starting to be a real pain in the boy, Zabuza growled out before getting to his feet and going through a chain of hand seals as Kakashi appeared before him. Kakashi was also going through hand seals. They both finished at the same time, announcing their jutsu. Water release. Water dragon bullet jutsu. Water release. Water dragon bullet jutsu. The two massive water dragons clashed together and fought for dominance briefly before they both dispersed. Is that all you can do, is copy me like a damn monkey? He yelled in anger. That moment of anger caused him as Arashi took it as an opportunity to appear next to a startled Zabuza with a bow staff, swinging it into his arm. Crack. The sound of a broken bone could be heard throughout the clearing as Zabuza was launched into a tree. Ah! Arashi was running across the water about to finish the fight with an overhead strike to crush Zabuza's skull when he pulled up short to avoid Senbon needles that were thrown at him. Appearing next to Zabuza was what appeared to be a mist hunter ninja, if the mask was anything to go by. This is not over, Konoha ninja, a soft voice behind the mask said before Zabuza was scooped up and they both left in a water shunshin. Damn it, they got away. Kakashi sensei, how you doing? Arashi asked as he was back to the shore where Kakashi was already waiting. Better than I expected. After uncovering the Sharingan, it drains my chakra faster than I would like. Any more big jutsu after that water dragon would have had me laid out with chakra exhaustion, he said before turning to Tazuna. Even though they're gone, I'm not comfortable out here in the open. We'll collect Sasuke, then make our way to Tazuna's home. Later that night, after arriving at Tazuna's home and being introduced to his family, his daughter Tsunami was a beautiful woman in her late 20s with long black hair and soulful dark eyes. His grandson Inari was brooding child of about 8 or 9 with black hair covered with a white bucket hat, dark eyes, green overalls with a yellow shirt beneath it. When everyone was introduced, they gathered in the living room where Sakura was currently tending to Sasuke's wounds, minor though they were. When we found him, he looked like a porcupine with Senbon needles sticking out all around his body. He even had a few stuck in his. First of all, Sasuke, if you ever run off on your own again without orders from me, the next we have a mission outside the village, I'll send you back to the academy for remedial classes on teamwork. Do you understand? Kakashi said in a no-nonsense tone. HN, was Sasuke's reply before he was hoisted in the air by his pissed-off teacher by his throat. You left the formation and left an opening that could have caused us the client's life. If the civilian council didn't kiss you would be bounced from the ranks for a stunt like that. I will not pander to your already massive ego and superiority complex. You will either follow orders or you will not survive in the field with me, Kakashi growled out, and when I speak to you, you will open your mouth and respond with words, you will not grunt at me like I'm one of your Ing fans. Do you understand me, Genin? Yi. SS. A. Sasuke said as clear as possible. What? Yes, sensei. Came Sasuke's strangled voice before Kakashi dropped him and moved back to his seat while Sasuke took greedy gulps of air. I apologize for that scene. Anyway, we're not done with Zabuza and his tagalong yet. They managed to get away, but with Zabuza's broken arm he won't be combat ready for quite some time unless he calls in reinforcements. Before that happens we are going to track him down and finish what we started, and Gato as well. Before all that though, Sasuke, tell me how Zabuza's student fought. Coughing slightly, long-range fighter, Sasuke's voice came out almost as a whisper. He kept to the trees and surrounding bushes and launched Senbons from my blind spots. He's fast but he never used any jutsu, so I don't know what element he uses. Alright, get some rest. Tomorrow, Sasuke. Sakura, I'll be upping your training. Arashi, you'll go to the bridge with Tazuna and guard him until I relieve you. Yes, sensei, was the reply from the three genins before they all moved to the stairs to their designated rooms. The next day. Okay, now the training I have in mind is a chakra control exercise. It's called tree climbing. The point of this exercise is to channel chakra into the soles of your feet and stick to the surface of the tree. After explaining, Kakashi approached a tree in the wooded area where he had gathered Sasuke and Sakura first thing after breakfast. He stopped in front of a fairly tall tree and made the ram hand seal. After finding the correct amount, he placed one foot then the other on the base of the tree and began to walk up it as if walking on the ground. Both Sasuke and Sakura gaped at this display. Chakra control is one of the most important and fundamental skills a ninja can possess. For example, if you take two people with an equal amount of chakra reserves and had them perform the same jutsu, I guarantee that the person who has better control could use that same jutsu more than the person who just poured chakra into it. A person with great chakra control can also use it to enhance other things like their speed or even their strength. After the explanation, Kakashi jumped out of the tree and approached his students. Any questions? Why isn't Arashi-san here for this training? Sakura asked. I know he hasn't been on the team long and I should have had Arashi introduce himself properly, but there hasn't been an opportunity, so I'll tell you a little about him. Arashi was trained outside of the village. He was born in the land of fire and prior to joining Konoha 6 months ago he was a successful bounty hunter. He is beyond this level of training and frankly the only reason he is here now is to gain experience working on a team. If you want to know more than that you will have to ask him. Now approach a tree and get started. Mark your progress with a kunai, he said, pulling his favorite book out of his hip pouch and walking over to a nearby stump to get some reading in. A word of advice: too much chakra and you'll be blown off, too little and you won't stick at all. It wasn't even 10 minutes later that a voice of excitement sounded throughout the clearing. Hey Kakashi-sensei, this doesn't seem so hard, Sakura said from her spot about 30 feet off the ground sitting on a branch. Very good, Sakura. Now that your break is over, complete the exercise and get to the top, he said, pointing towards the canopy. Sakura looked towards the top of the tree and fought back a shiver at the height. Yes, sensei. When you reach the top, I want you to practice running up and down the tree until you can't do it anymore, then take a break and continue running. The reason it was so easy for you is because your reserves are small. The continuous exhaustion will build up your reserves. Sasuke, instead of a running start, lay down at the base and place your feet on the trunk and find the right amount that will allow you to stick to the tree and then go from there. A week later. It has been a week since the Konoha ninjas and their client arrived in Wave. Things have been mostly quiet with no sign of Gato or Zabuza. Sakura and Sasuke have both completed the tree walking exercise and were now in rotation with Arashi as bodyguards for Tazuna. Kakashi was trying to think of a way to track down Zabuza and his accomplice. While all this was going on, there was also a very tense atmosphere whenever Inari, Tazuna's grandson, was around. He just seemed to all the positive feelings out of the room. All the tension came to a head one evening at the dinner table. Why do you try so hard? You'll never beat someone like Gato. He's too strong and you're stupid for even trying. Arashi turned toward the speaker, which turned out to be Inari. So what does that make your grandfather? Is he stupid for trying to stop Gato? I don't think so. I think that makes him damn courageous to put his life on the line for his home and for his family. He's doing a hell of a lot more than you are. What do you know? You don't know what it's like to live here. If you go against Gato, you're just going to die like everyone else. Inari screamed with tears in his eyes. I'm tired of hearing your mouth. You think you're the only person to suffer. Try being poisoned, beaten and stabbed on a damn near daily basis. When you weren't being attacked, you were being glared at or ignored until the next time someone wanted to vent their frustration out on you. What about your grandfather? You don't think he suffers from the fact that every time he leaves you two alone, it might be the last time he sees you? You don't think your mom suffers the same way? They suffer, but unlike you, your mom still finds the strength to encourage Tazuna to do the right thing. You're nothing but a coward, and I'm tired of looking at you. With that said, Naruto used the leaf shunshin to leave a stunned and silent audience. It is him. Why wouldn't the Hokage tell me he came back? Kakashi thought to himself. With Naruto in the woods. That damn brat making me lose my control like that. It's shadow clone jutsu. Out of the smoke of the jutsu popped about 100 clones. Alright guys, let's burn off some of this energy. You got it, boss. Attack. Bring it. The next morning. Arashi suddenly sprang awake the next morning. It took him a moment to realize he was holding a struggling figure in an arm-lock submission hold. He couldn't see a face because his legs were stretched across the face of the person, adding a little more pressure to the hold. He growled out, "Who are you?" "I was just collecting herbs when I saw you sleeping. I was just going to wake you." Hearing the rushed explanation as well as the soft voice, Arashi immediately let the person go. Sitting up, he got a good look at the person whose arm he almost broke. He couldn't tell if it was a very feminine guy or a very beautiful girl. Long straight black hair, brown eyes and a choker around the neck. A low-cut pink sleeveless kimono and light brown sandals. While Arashi was studying his mystery guest, that person was also rethinking approaching the masked shinobi. Kami, my arm's on fire. What was I thinking approaching him? If he can keep up with Zabuza-sama, then he is indeed very formidable, were the thoughts of the stranger. I'm sorry for startling you, but it's a very dangerous time in Wave right now. I'm Haku, by the way. Arashi, sorry for that, but it's kind of a reflex, he said, gesturing toward the arm Haku was flexing, trying to get rid of the tingling sensations. So you said you were out here collecting herbs. You shouldn't venture out alone right now. Like you said, it's a very dangerous time. I usually avoid trouble by coming out in the early morning. I better get back to my collecting, said the now named Haku. Look, since I'm the reason you spilled your herbs, why don't I help you collect some more? It'll go a lot faster. Arashi offered. Thank you for your kind offer, Haku said, smiling a little. They went about collecting various herbs when Haku decided to break the silence. So I noticed your headband. You're a ninja, right? Yeah, I was out here letting off some steam last night. It was pretty late when I finally calmed down, so I decided to sleep out here. So Haku, how long have you lived in Wave? Not long, my guardian and I travel a lot and we sort of got stuck here. Haku replied. So what does your guardian do that requires so much travel? Haku hesitated for a moment before an answer came to mind. He's a craftsman of a particular art that is always in high demand. I don't practice it myself, so don't ask me to explain it to you. I hope being stuck in Wave hasn't dulled his skills. It's getting pretty late, would you like me to walk you home? Arashi asked. Haku was quick to respond. No thank you, my guardian would not take it well if I showed a stranger where we were staying. Do you mind if I ask you something? As a shinobi, why do you fight? Arashi took a moment to ponder that question. Well, I guess it all started when I was a kid. I didn't have anyone for a while as a child and I always wanted to learn to defend myself. Now I fight because it's all I know. Do you consider yourself strong? Strong enough now, but I'm not nearly as strong as I want to be, Arashi answered back. I believe if you have people to protect someone precious to you, then you can become truly strong. That's a nice belief to have, and I think I already have some candidates for precious people. It was nice meeting you. Haku, get home safely, he said before turning and walking away. You as well, Haku said before doing the same. Wait, Haku. This is just going to bug me until I know, are you a guy or a girl? I'm a guy, Haku said, chuckling and then laughing out loud when he noticed the paleness of the masked shinobi before he turned and continued his walk. At Tazuna's house all was quiet at the breakfast table. No one has seen Arashi or Inari since dinner the previous night. Tazuna and Tsunami were worried about the effects the young ninja's words would have on Inari. Sakura was curious about Arashi's childhood. Sasuke put the whole episode out of his mind already. If it didn't involve him here, Itachi, he didn't care. Kakashi was wondering how to approach Arashi with what he knew about him. They were all pulled from their thoughts by the sound of footsteps on the stairs. Coming down the stairs was Inari, only he was wearing something a lot different than his usual blue overalls and yellow shirt. He was wearing what looked to be an old pair of blue jeans, a white t-shirt with a black and red flannel jacket over top of it. In his hands looked to be a brand new pair of construction boots, and around his neck was a white towel similar to what Tazuna himself usually wears around his neck. However, the most noticeable thing about little Inari was the determined look in his young eyes. There was a fire there that neither Tazuna nor Tsunami had seen before. Tsunami was the first to get over her shock. Inari, honey, what are you wearing and where do you think you're going? I'm going to help Grandpa with the bridge. That Arashi guy was right, I haven't done anything to help. All I've been doing is acting like a coward. Well, from now on I'm going to do my part and help Grandpa with the bridge, and when he doesn't need me I'll help you around the house. No more crying and no more complaining. It's time to grow up, Inari said, his voice never wavering. There's nothing wrong with crying, especially if you're happy. The voice of Arashi startled everyone in the room because all attention was on Inari. No one saw him enter. Well, Inari, if you plan to put in a full day, I suggest you eat. You're going to need your energy. Following his own advice, Arashi sat down at the table and helped himself to some eggs, bacon and toast. I don't know if that's a traditional Japanese breakfast or not, so please don't make an issue out of it. Inari sat down next to Arashi and ate the same as he did. Kakashi-sensei, I had a little run-in this morning I think you should be aware of. He paused until his sensei gave him his full attention. I came across Zabuza's accomplice, or I should say his accomplice came across me asleep in a clearing this morning. I know he knew who I was, but I didn't let on that I knew who he was. We spoke for a while and I have a way to track them to their hideout. Kami willing it doesn't rain. Why didn't you just bring him here? We could have interrogated him to get Zabuza's location. I would have, but after speaking with him, he would have taken that location to the grave. He is extremely loyal to Zabuza, not like the demon brothers, Arashi explained. All right, here is the plan for today. Sasuke and Sakura will guard Tazuna and Inari. Arashi, you leave some clones here to guard Tsunami, while we track the accomplice to the hideout. No matter what, be back here no later than noon just in case we have to make any plans. After Kakashi laid out the orders for the day, everyone went about their business as usual. Tazuna left to go work on the bridge with Sasuke, Sakura and Inari following behind him. After leaving Tsunami with a couple of clones in the house and a few more spread throughout the property, Arashi led Kakashi to the spot where he encountered Haku. It didn't take long for Pakun, Kakashi's summoned dog, to track Haku back to a treehouse hideout. No doubt about it, the scent is up there, said Pakun. Pakun was a miniature pug with brown fur, a blue vest and a Konoha headband worn on top of his head. He also wore a white bandage around his right front leg. He had a deep gruff voice and was obsessed with the feeling of his paw pads. Thank you, Pakun, you can return now, Kakashi said. See ya, Kakashi, and with that he disappeared in a cloud of smoke. Alright, let's check the surroundings for traps and meet back here in an hour, Kakahi's ordered. Yes, sensei, Arashi replied and disappeared into the foliage. 1 hour later. Well, anything? Kakashi asked when he returned from his own recon to find Arashi waiting for him. Nothing. Either Zabuza is that confident in his skills even after what we did to him, or he was never expecting us to come looking for him. How about you? Same here. No traps of any kind, not even an early warning system. I still say we approach with caution. What's the plan once we make contact? The plan is to get to Gato. I'm guessing Zabuza knows where his main base is. If Zabuza was still part of a hidden village and getting his orders from a cage, then this wouldn't be an option, but since he's in this for the money, maybe he can be reasoned with or paid more, Kakashi explained. Okay. So how do you want to get their attention? With subtlety. Inside the tree house, Haku was applying an herbal poultice to Zabuza's shoulder, which he had injured after he was hit into a tree. Zabuza-sama, with one arm broken and with the damage to the other, even with my skills it will be at least 3 weeks before you are a challenge to someone of Hitaki's skill. If you were to fight against him in this condition, you would surely die. And not just Kakashi either, the blonde brat as well. The demon of the mist growled out, if we can't beat them, we're going. Whatever he was going to say was cut off as 3 kunai flew through the front window near the door and stuck in the opposite wall. Zabuza and Haku had enough time to grab his massive sword Kubukiribocho, or the decapitating carving knife, and race out the door as the tree house exploded. Landing away from the debris of their hideout, Zabuza and Haku looked back at the devastation. Show yourselves, you bastards. I thought you said you wanted to get their attention with subtlety. Arashi groused while stepping out from the shadows of the surrounding forest. That was as subtle as a 6-foot sword being tossed at your head, Kakashi replied back. Touché. You just saved me the trouble of coming to find you, Kakashi, Zabuza said, taking a better grip on his sword. Don't make me call your bluff, Zabuza. I didn't come here to fight, I came to offer a proposition. What would you say to getting paid double what Gato offered to leave the bridge builder and his family alone? You think you can just buy me to walk away? Not a chance. Think about it, Zabuza-san. You were at 100% last time we fought. Now you can't perform jutsu, and with that injury to your sword shoulder your kenjutsu will be less than effective, Arashi cut in. Gato has the money, which we are going to get once you tell us where his main base is as well as what kind of protections he has, Kakashi said plainly. Are you really ready to say you ED yourself for Gato and also throw Haku's life away for him too? Zabuza thought about his options. Fight a battle I have no way of winning with my injuries, or roll over on Gato. To hell with it, I never liked that pig anyway. Heaving a sigh, his main base is on the north edge of the island. He has about 150 mercenaries around the clock. Gato's philosophy is quantity, not quality. Gato himself is not hard to spot. He looks like a goblin in a 3-piece suit and sunglasses. Bring the money to the place we had our first fight in the morning. You have a deal, Zabuza. It was nice seeing you again, Haku. Sorry about the explosive tag. Next time try knocking on the door, Haku replied with a grin. Later that night, after leaving Zabuza and Haku, the two made their way back to Tazuna's home and the meeting with Team 7 and their client. After the update on where things stood with Zabuza, Kakashi ordered everyone except himself and Arashi to stick close to the house for the remainder of the day. It was now about midnight and Kakashi and Arashi had been studying Gato's base most of the day, and it was confirmed as Gato preferring quantity over quality. Irregular and sloppy patrols seemed to be the norm. There seemed to be only 3 people who held any sway over the mercenaries, Gato and his 2 samurai bodyguards. Whenever they weren't around, the men just sat around trying to out-tough each other and drinking. So Kakashi-sensei, how do you want to do this? Arashi asked. I think a couple of well-placed explosive notes, a genjutsu here and there, and liberal use of the Sharingan will have the desired effect on these goons outside. You handle Gato. As we have seen, the only people allowed inside is his 2 bodyguards, so you shouldn't have any trouble. All the same, be careful. Wait for my signal and then make your way up to Gato, Kakashi said. Yes, sensei. Arashi replied before he disappeared in the shadows. With Gato. Gato was currently sitting back in his expensive leather chair, behind his expensive wooden desk smoking and drinking the finest cigar and sake money could buy. He built his reputation and empire around two human emotions, greed and fear. What one couldn't accomplish the other could. In his office with him are his two bodyguards Zori and Waraji. Zori was a young man in his mid-20s, he had bluish-white hair and black eyes with lines tattooed beneath them. His partner Waraji was a little older with brown hair and a short beard, he also had an eye patch over his right eye. Alright you two, once we get word on when that fool Zabuza is going to strike, I want you two to go and grab the bridge builder's daughter for some extra insurance, just in case the baby demon can't do his part. Bring her to the BR. He was interrupted by an explosion in the courtyard that shook his balcony doors. What the hell was that? Turning to face the direction of the disturbance, he was greeted by a figure running across his balcony about to crash through the glass doors. Letting out a girlish shriek, he ducked beneath his desk with enough time to avoid most of the broken glass, but also with enough time to see his two bodyguards hit the ground with a knife each protruding from their eyes. That's not a very good hiding spot considering I saw you duck under there, a cold voice said above him. Gato scrambled from beneath the desk and had enough time to see ice blue eyes before a foot connected to his face and his world went black. Arashi woke Gato from his mini nap the fastest way possible, a hard slap to the face. Wah! What happened? Gato mumbled as he regained consciousness. Hello Gato, you're probably wondering why you're tied face down on your desk with your pants around your ankles and you're in the air. No, it's not because I want you to get used to the feeling of prison life, it's because I want your undivided attention. You see this piece of paper? Arashi asked, holding up a standard explosive note. This is what we shinobi call an explosive note, it's pretty self-explanatory, right? He asked. Getting a nod from Gato, he continued. Good. Now one of these things placed in a strategic spot could level a good-sized building. You currently have two shoved up here and they don't get more strategic than that. Ignoring Gato's begging and whimpering, Arashi approached the shipping magnate and knelt down until they were face to face. You only have one chance, I want the deeds and money you stole from the people of Wave. Okay. In the basement behind the floor-to-ceiling map of the elemental nations is the vault. There are two keypads on opposite sides of the safe. The one on the left press 13745247, on the right 75812363. You have to input them at the same time, Gato said desperately. Thank you for your cooperation, was all Arashi said before heading for the door. Wait, I told you what you wanted to know, aren't you going to untie me? I don't recall making that offer, Arashi said coldly before leaving the room. In the hallway, ignoring Gato's screams, he channels some chakra into the exploding tags currently in the possession of Gato. The resulting explosion sent pieces off Gato into the hallway behind Arashi and pieces through the balcony door leading outside. With that done, Arashi made his way towards the basement to complete his part of the mission. 2 weeks later. The news of not only Gato's men but Gato himself disappearing overnight spread like wildfire the next day. With Gato gone and the deeds to lost homes and fishing boats turning up, the land of Wave was on its way to prosperity again. Zabuza and Haku also left after we paid them double what Gato had promised them, but Zabuza refused to leave without a promise of a rematch sometime in the future. With the spare hands of the rest of Wave and a good deal of clones, the Bridge of Hope was completed ahead of schedule. Team 7 now stood on the Bridge of Hope along with Tazuna, Tsunami, Inari and the rest of Wave to see them off. Well, this is it for us, Tazuna. Your bridge is built and Gato's not a problem anymore. Even without Gato, you're going to have your hands full getting your country back on its feet. Yes, it's going to be a long haul, but thanks to you and your team, we're well on our way. Arashi approached Inari and Tsunami, who were standing slightly behind Tazuna. Smiling down at Inari and ruffling his hair a little, you know, you're not so bad once I got to know you. A big step to growing up is protecting those people precious to you, so keep an eye on your mom and grandpa. Sniff. Alright, I can do that. Ha ha ha, don't you remember what I said 2 weeks ago? It's alright to cry if you're happy, Arashi said, smiling at the young boy before he approached Tsunami and wrapped the woman in a hug. He's going to be okay and I'll be back to visit as often as possible. Thank you Arashi-kun, not just for helping my father and son but for helping me too. I hadn't realized how long I put my own life on hold before you showed me I was still a woman, not just a mother and a daughter, Tsunami said, blushing at some of the things they did together in the last 2 weeks. The pleasure was mutual, Tsunami-chan. Arashi, time to go, came the loud call of his pink teammate. I'll be seeing you Tsunami-chan, that's a promise. Team 7 left Wave without a backwards glance, and once they were on the mainland they used ninja speed to make better time back to the village. Team 7 made it back to the village in half the time it took to get to Wave. Halt. What's your business here? A gate guard asked. Team 7 returning from C-rank mission, Kakashi stated. Proceed. With permission to enter, everyone went to the rooftops in order to get to the Hokage Tower quicker and be released for some downtime. Upon reaching the Hokage Tower, Kakashi turned to his team. I can handle the official report, you 3 are dismissed until further notice. Good, I need a drink, I'll see you later Kakashi-sensei, Arashi said before walking off. Goodbye Kakashi-sensei, I need a hot bath, Sakura said, too tired to even ask Sasuke for a date. I have some training to do, Sasuke uttered before heading off to the Uchiha district. With Arashi barely made it past the front door of the wet leaf before he was tackled through the doors and back into the streets by a purple and tan blur. Arashi-kun, Anko said in a cooing voice, it's been almost a month since we've had some fun together and I've been known to get a little mean when my favorite toys are taken away, Anko said, rubbing her face against Arashi's masked cheek. Anko, give me an hour to relax and have a drink and we can have some time together, I really need a drink. Dealing with that Uchiha for a month straight is severely testing my resolve not to cut his throat and go missing, Nin, Arashi said. Ah, poor baby. Okay, you've earned your drink then, it's Anko time, she said, pulling him up and ushering him into the bar. The next morning Naruto and Anko were awakened by a tapping on Anko's window by a messenger hawk. Anko disentangled herself from Naruto's arms. Yes, she knows, he really is a cuddler. Going to the window and retrieving the message from the bird, Anko scanned it halfway before going to Naruto and giving him the message. It's from Kakashi, he says you have a team meeting in an hour, she told him. Naruto read through the message himself, then used a small fire jutsu to destroy it. An hour to Kakashi means 4 hours in real time. I'm going to get some more sleep, he said, turning over and putting action to his words. I have a meeting so I'm going to shower and get going, I'll see you later, she said, heading towards the bathroom. Naruto was now making his way towards Training Ground 7 across the rooftops of Konoha when he came across a strange scene below him. His teammate Sakura looked like she was trying to defuse a confrontation with some ninja he had never seen before. One was a guy in a black full-body jumpsuit holding a squirming kid in his hand and a blonde girl with 4 pigtails and a battle fan on her back. Better back her up before she gets herself hurt. Look, why don't you just drop the kid? Alting someone in a foreign village is a good way to start a whole lot of trouble over nothing, Sakura said, trying to defuse the situation with this sand shinobi. Shut up, Pinky. This brat ran into me and an apology just won't cut it. You better put me down or my knee-san is going to kick your. The squirming boy said. Oh, is that right? The sand shinobi asked mockingly. Kankuro. Wait a second, Tamari, I'm almost done here. The now named Kankuro dismissed his teammate's call. Kankuro. His teammate Tamari said a little more insistently. Not now, Tamari. Kankuro. Kankuro turned towards Tamari. What? And froze. Standing next to his sister was a ninja about 6 feet tall with blonde cornrows. He had a face mask that started from his nose to his neck and disappeared further down beneath a mesh shirt and an open black and white camouflaged flak jacket. What froze him in place was the fact that this guy had snuck up on him and had his arm across Tamari's shoulders, but what had his blood freezing was the fact that the hand connected to that same arm was holding a kunai to his sister's throat. Arashi. Ni-san. Came the surprised shout from Sakura and Konohamaru. How about a trade? You put my brother down nice and gently and I won't open this pretty girl's throat like a fountain. Arashi said casually as if talking about the weather. Tamari shivered at the casual way this person said he would her. Alright, just calm down, Konkuro said, lowering the kid to the ground. I'm perfectly calm, now get away from him, he said, taking his arm away from the girl and going over to Konohamaru. You okay, Kon? I'm fine, Ni-san. Good, you and your friends get back to class, we'll talk about why you felt the need to ditch later. Konohamaru and his two friends Moegi and Udon took off towards the academy while Arashi turned back to face the sand ninja. I would advise you to go to your hotel room and calm down from your journey. I can guarantee another attempt. Toho the Hokage's grandson will not go unpunished. Konkuro paled behind his makeup at what he had almost done. Sasuke, if you and your friend would join us down here we could all be on our way, Arashi said, looking into a nearby tree. Sasuke knew he had been spotted by his teammate long before he had even spoken to him. What surprised him was the reference to a friend. What the hell is he talking about? Looking around, he almost fell out of the tree when he came face to face with an upside-down redhead looking him right in the face. Damn it. That's the second time that's happened. Sasuke thought to himself before jumping out of the tree, followed by the redhead who appeared in front of his teammates in a sand shunshin. Konkuro, you're an embarrassment to our village for pulling such a stunt, the redhead said in a monotone voice. I'm sorry, Gaara, I was just. Shut up or all you. I'm sorry for his behavior, it won't happen again. Come on. Wait a second, you with the gourd, who are you and what are you doing in our village? Sasuke asked, or more like demanded. I am Gaara of the desert, here for the Chunin exams. What is your name? The now named Gaara said everything in the same monotone voice, never raising or lowering it. I'm Sasuke Uchiha, Sasuke replied like he just declared himself Kami. I wasn't talking to you, P. You the blonde guy, what's your name? Arashi, and I will definitely see you in the exams, Gaara-san, Arashi said. After Arashi received his application for the Chunin exams, he decided to walk around the village for a while until his weekly dinner at the Sarutobi compound. It was something he had been doing since his return to the village. He was walking aimlessly through the village when a whimpering sound brought him out of his thoughts. Stopping in his tracks and looking around, he realized that he had wandered into some unknown training grounds and the whimpers were coming from a forested area behind a bunch of marked-up trees, probably used as targets for weapons throwing. Following the sound, he came upon a mostly all-black puppy with a strip of white around its neck that looked like a collar. The puppy, upon seeing him, bared its fangs and got a feral look in its now noticeable all-white eyes. It tried to stand up to defend itself from a possible enemy but let out a yelp and collapsed back to the ground. Shish, easy fella, I'm not going to hurt you, just relax, Arashi said in a soothing voice. Getting closer to the pup, Arashi saw why he couldn't stand up as he saw a shuriken stuck in the right hind leg of the animal. Alright fella, looks like you got a little trouble there, Arashi said, still keeping to a calm tone. Arashi inched closer so as not to startle the animal and went down on a knee beside the it. Moving his hand slowly towards the shuriken, Arashi was about to take a hold of it and pull it out when the little animal snapped his jaws at his fingers. Arashi pulled his hand back quickly and counted them to make sure he still had all his digits. Arashi looked into the white eyes of the black dog with a small glare. Look, nobody likes pain unless you're some kind of masochist, but I have to remove this and bandage it or you're not going to heal properly. Now let's try this again. I'm going to count to 3 and then I'm going to pull it out, so think of a happy place and grit your teeth cause it's going to happen. Looking into the dog's eyes and receiving what he could only interpret as a nod of agreement, Arashi started the countdown. 1, 2, 3. On 3, quick as a snake strike, Arashi yanked the shuriken out, getting a small yelp from the pup. Staunching the blood with some gauze from his vest pocket, Arashi applied a quick field dressing to the wound. This will do for now, best get you to a real doctor though, saying that he picked the dog up and disappeared in a swirl of leaves to the local vet's office. Arashi reappeared outside of a medium-sized white building with a wooden shingle hanging over the door that said, Konoha's Veterinarian Services. It was located more in the civilian side of the village for their convenience since civilians rarely had a reason to wander in the Shinobi section. Walking into the building with the little dog cradled in his arms, Arashi made his way to the empty front desk of the office. Not seeing anyone around, he rang the little bell on the desk for service. Hello. Got a patient for you. Is there a doctor in the house? Still not getting a response, Arashi walked over to a door with a sign that said, "Employees only," that lead further into the building. Opening the door, he was met by the sound of barking and chirping so loud he was surprised he hadn't ruptured his eardrums. Wincing at the noise, he quickly shut the door. They must have some kind of sound barrier set up. You must feel worse than I do with your hearing, Arashi said, looking down at the dog in his arms. Arf, arf, arf. All right. No need for that type of language. Brace yourself, we're going back in. Arashi went back to the door and took a moment to brace himself for the noise before he opened the door and went in. He made his way down the lit-up corridor, peeking into each room as he went. Most were examination rooms and a couple of supply closets. He was near the end of the hall when he looked into one room and stopped dead in his tracks at an amazing sight. It was one of the most perfectly heart-shaped he had ever laid eyes on. All he could see, all he was really looking at was that perfect in tight gray biker shorts. The other half of this person was inside a dog cage, apparently cleaning it out. Arashi was taking in every detail when a bite on the arm from the dog he was carrying brought him out of his dream world. Ahem. Excuse, I need some help here, he said. The person in the cage jumped at the sound of him clearing his throat and quickly backed out of the cage, stood up and turned around. Arashi was once again stunned, speechless for a moment. This woman was obviously an Inuzuka by the telltale red fang marks on her cheeks. Long brown hair held up in a ponytail with two bangs hanging down the front, round dark eyes set in the soft features of her face was remarkably beautiful. She was also wearing a black wife beater that did nothing to hide her generous C-cup. Shiro-kun, the lady exclaimed, darting forward and taking the puppy from Arashi's arms. Oh, Shiro-kun, where have you been, you poor little baby? Arashi was completely ignored as the Inuzuka women took the pup, apparently named Shiro, into one of the exam rooms down the hall. Not knowing what else to do, Arashi followed them to the room with enough time to catch the women consoling the injured animal. Does somebody have an owie? Don't worry, Hana's going to fix that right up for you, the now named Hana was saying as she unwrapped the field dressing and took a good look at the wound. So is Shiro going to be okay? Arashi asked. He's going to be fine. What happened? Hana asked the stranger. I was just walking around when I heard him whimpering. I found him in the woods behind some training grounds with a shuriken stuck in him. I dressed the wound and brought him here, Arashi explained. So his name is Shiro, huh? It's actually Shiromaru, he's a member of the Inuzuka clan and I believe we're in your debt for finding him. If left too long this wound might have been infected. Who may I tell my clan head we are indebted to? Arashi approached the examination table where Hana was putting the finishing touches on a new bandage for Shiromaru. My name is Arashi and from what I have gleaned from you, you are Hana Inuzuka, it's a pleasure to meet you. Hana finished her bandage on Shiro and then took a good look at her guest. He was about 6 feet tall, blonde hair, blue eyes and indeterminate age because of the face mask. He stood tall and proud without a hint of arrogance in his posture. Hana felt a tingle go up her spine as a single word went through her mind as she looked at this man, Arashi, ALPHA. It's nice to meet you as well, Arashi. Thank you again for finding and helping Shiro-kun. He's the most curious pup at the compound, always wandering off somewhere, Hana said, rubbing the black ears of the now sleeping animal. I think as long as he stays clear of the training grounds he should do okay. I have to be going, Hana. I hope to see you around sometime. We can talk about working off that debt, Arashi said, smiling as he left the room. Hana felt the tingle along her spine even more at the hidden meaning in those words, anytime Arashi, anytime. Later, Sarutobi compound. Dinner at the Sarutobi compound is always a small family affair when Hiruzen's schedule allowed it. At the small circular table right now were Arashi, Asuma, Konohamaru and Hiruzen. They were talking about a bunch of non-important things at the moment. The serious talk was reserved for after dinner when Konohamaru was out of the room. They were finishing up the meal when the subject of Arashi's first dinner at the Sarutobi compound came up. Flashback about 6 months ago. It was a couple of days after Arashi had returned to the village when he was invited to the Sarutobi compound for dinner. He was walking next to the Hokage the long way towards the compound. Sarutobi always liked to take a walk through the village after a long day. It helped to relieve the stress of wearing the hat and reminding him of why he took it in the first place. As they approached the front door, Sarutobi paused to give his dinner guest a word of caution. I have to warn you, my grandson Konohamaru can be a little hyper at times. Try to be a little patient with him if it gets to be too much, Sarutobi said before opening the door. Arashi followed right behind him and took a good look at the inside of the home. The front door opened into a hallway. About 15 feet from the door was an archway that led into a sitting area, and Arashi could see a set of stairs further along the hallway leading up. Sarutobi paused in the archway to announce his presence. Konohamaru, I'm home. As soon as the words were out of his mouth, smoke bombs filled the sitting area. Jumping in front of the Hokage, Arashi prepared to defend him from the surprise attack. Arashi focused his senses on the would-be attacker or attackers. Hearing a whistle through the air, Arashi shot his hand out and grabbed the airborne weapons. Feeling something off with them, he took a quick glance and was puzzled by the weapons. Wooden shurikens, what the hell? He focused back on his attacker when he heard a very childish voice shout, I got you this time, old man. Arashi focused on where the voice came from and saw a hazy figure in the still lingering smoke. Leaf Hurricane. When the figure, who could only be the Hokage's grandson Konohamaru, jumped in the air to perform the attack, Arashi darted into the smoke. As Arashi went into the smoke, the Hokage performed a small wind jutsu to clear the room. When it was clear enough to see, he saw his grandson hanging upside down from his ankle by Arashi, who was scratching his head with the wooden shuriken he confiscated from Konohamaru. So, I take it this is, Konohamaru, nice to meet you, I'm Arashi, Arashi said, smiling at the upside-down child. Konohamaru's sweat dropped at the nonchalant greeting, put me down, you idiot, don't you know who I am? Konohamaru screamed. Oof, was the sound Konohamaru made as he was dropped on his head. Yeah, I know who you are, and as a member of the Sarutobi clan you should have better manners than to scream at a guest in your home, Arashi pointed out mildly. Hiruzen decided to step in before Konohamaru completely blew his top. Konohamaru, go and wash up for dinner, Arashi will be our guest tonight. Konohamaru blinked dumbly at his grandpa before switching back to the masked shinobi while still rubbing his head. All right, Gramps, he said before getting to his feet and leaving the room. Hyper isn't the right word to describe him, I would say he's more lively than hyper, Arashi said. Aren't they the same thing? Hiruzen asked curiously. Arashi shook his head. No, one sounds like an affliction and the other sounds like a compliment. Hiruzen decided to keep quiet on the subject and lead the young man into the dining area beyond the sitting room. It was a simple family setting, a small round table with 4 chairs around it. Dinner was also very simple: grilled beef, rice, veggies and soup. Konohamaru came into the room and everyone took their seats and tucked into the meal. It was quiet for a few minutes before the Hokage broke the silence. So Konohamaru, how was your training today? Boring. All sensei did was talk the whole time, not once did he show us any cool jutsu. Even Ebisu sensei refused to show me any cool jutsu. He said I had to master the basics first, Konohamaru said in a dejected tone. He's right, you know, without the basics you have nothing to build on. All the greatest ninja you could name were masters of basic jutsus and using their knowledge of the basics and build on them to make the best use of them, Arashi interjected. What would you know, Blondie? Konohamaru said as he glared across the table at the masked guest. I was trained by 4 men who could actually call themselves true masters of the shinobi arts, and they drilled into me daily that to be great is to master the basics. Arashi explained. For example, if someone gave you a sword tomorrow, do you think just having that sword makes you a master swordsman? He asked. Before Konohamaru could answer, Arashi asked him another question. What's your dream, Konohamaru? What's your goal as a ninja? My goal is to defeat the old man and become Hokage. Ebisu sensei says with his training I'll take the shortcut to be our coming Hokage. Konohamaru exclaimed with fire in his eyes. Arashi looked across the table at the young boy with calm eyes. First, I think this Ebisu guy should be tarred and feathered and hung up by his ankles in the middle of the village for telling you something so stupid as to think there is some kind of shortcut to the respect and power a Kage wields. Arashi said calmly, there is no such thing as a shortcut to power. No amount of cool jutsu will make you Kage material. It takes a certain mental and spiritual fortitude to be a Kage. Can you imagine day after day, month after month, year after year the kind of conviction it takes to send people you've grown up with and people you've seen grow from babies to young men and women and send them out to defend the village knowing there's a possibility you will never see them again? Konohamaru was speechless as he listened to Arashi speak. He couldn't imagine sending Udon and Moegi out on some mission and then finding out that they had been. He could never forgive himself if that happened. Is that true, Gramps? Yes, it is. Being Hokage is more than being recognized as the strongest in the village. Being Hokage is asking yourself, are you mentally strong enough to do what is best for the village? The Hokage said. Konohamaru sat there in silence for a few minutes. Can I be excused? Receiving a nod from his grandpa, he went to his bedroom to think about if he really wanted to be Hokage after all. Sorry about that, Gigi. I didn't mean to hit him with the reality of wearing the hat like that, Arashi said. That's okay, Naruto-kun. I was going to explain it to him eventually. Maybe I was just scared of this type of reaction and my grandson hating me for taking away his dream, Hiruzen said sadly. That speech sounded like the one Tobirama-sensei gave me at one point when he was grooming me as Hokage. Yeah, that's where I got it from. I got a tad bit overconfident during my training sometimes. One time I claimed that as soon as I was done training I would come back here and challenge you for the Hokage title. Tobirama-sensei sat me down and explained in great detail the responsibilities that come with the job, Arashi said ruefully. Is your dream still to be Hokage? Hiruzen asked curiously. No, I haven't decided on a dream yet. I'll just follow the road of life and see where it takes me, he said, smiling. Do you mind if I go up and speak to Konohamaru? He asked. Hiruzen shook his head no. Upstairs, second door on the right. Rising from his chair, Arashi made his to the kid's room. Looking through the open door he saw Konohamaru sitting on the edge of his bed looking miserable. Knocking on the door frame to get his attention, he waited for the kid to look at him. Hey Konohamaru, you mind if I come in? Sure, he said, scooting over to make room for the blonde. Why do you want to become Hokage? Arashi asked. My name is Konohamaru. I was named after the village, but no one calls me Konohamaru. People always call me honorable grandson. I'm not ashamed to be the grandson of the Hokage, but I just wish people would call me by my name for a change. If I was Hokage, then people would see more than the honorable grandson of the third Hokage. After what you said earlier, it seems like a pretty selfish reason to be Hokage. Wanting people to know your name is not selfish at all. But there are other ways to do it besides being Hokage. Konohamaru looked at Arashi with a confused expression. What other ways? How about becoming a Sannin? They're just like cages but better. How can they be better than a cage? You're just trying to mess with me, Konohamaru said, glaring at the blonde. No, I'm not. Think about it. The Sannin are said to be just as strong the cages throughout the elemental nations. They're free to come and go from the village whenever they want, which means they have opportunities to always learn something new. Can you imagine the stories the Toad Sage or the Slug Princess could tell you about their travels? Now the Hokage, he's always stuck in boring meetings with the council or stuck doing boring paperwork. He barely has time to train and don't even think about getting laid, let alone dating someone. Where would you find the time? Arashi paused there because of the puzzled look on Konohamaru's face. Why do you mean getting laid? Getting laid where? Ahem, ask your grandfather after I leave. I heard from an older shinobi who was around when the Hokage first took office. He said after a week he was completely gray from doing all the paperwork involved with being Hokage. Konohamaru looked scared out of his wits at the thought of going gray. The point is there are other ways to be recognized besides being Hokage. You're right, Arashi-san. Konohamaru Sarutobi will be the first ever monkey sage of Konoha. Konohamaru yelled with a renewed fire in his eyes. Good for you, Khan. I look forward to facing you one day, Arashi said, smiling. You can count on it. Don't think I forgot how you defeated me earlier. From now on we're rivals. Unknown to both Konohamaru and Arashi, Hiruzen had listened in on their talk, and though he perked up when Konohamaru declared he would be the first monkey sage, he still walked away with a storm cloud over his head after hearing Arashi's accurate description of his everyday life. I wasn't gray in a week. I was gray in 3 days. It took me a week just to finish the first round of paperwork, Hiruzen thought as he went back to the dinner table. Flashback end. After dinner, Konohamaru went to his room to study before bed while the other three went out to the back porch for self-indulgence, a cigarette and pipe for the Sarutobis and sake for Naruto. They were all content with the silence as each man indulged his own guilty pleasure, but they all knew that starting tomorrow was the beginning of something they had been preparing for 6 months, the invasion. Naruto, there is another reason I invited you to dinner tonight besides the fact that I like your company. Before the start of the 3rd round of the Chunin exams, I want to announce your return to the village as well as your lineage. What do you think about that? Hiruzen said, looking at the young shinobi calmly sipping his sake. Naruto was calm both on the inside and outside. It's fine with me, I was going to bring the subject up myself pretty soon. I already have plans in place if the council tries to give me a hard time, but what about you? Keeping a secret like this from the council for 6 months might get the hat taken away for good this time. I've been playing politics with these people for a long time. I'm not worried about that. I am, however, worried about their reaction towards you. Don't be Gigi. I was taught politics from the best and I can use the law like I can use a kunai, so don't worry yourself sick. I better be going. Long day tomorrow. Naruto drained the rest of his sake and bowing to both Asuma and Hiruzen left in a swirl of leaves. We both better get some rest, Pops. He's right, tomorrow is going to be a long day, Asuma said before finishing his cigarette and using a small fire jutsu to incinerate the butt before going inside. Hiruzen followed behind his son, thinking about what the future would hold for the village hidden in the leaves. The next day, Arashi was waiting at the front gates for his teammates to arrive. He had been there for almost a half hour waiting on them. He barely slept the night before because of the excitement of facing what he hoped to be strong opponents. Today he was wearing green tiger striped camouflage pants with matte black shin guards and black shinobi sandals. He was also wearing a sleeveless mesh shirt with a plain black sleeveless t-shirt over top of it. His arms were wrapped from wrist to elbow in black athletic tape, leaving his biceps exposed. He had his fingerless black gloves with the storage seals on the palm, shuriken on the left and kunais on the right. He was wearing a collarless flak jacket that matched his pants, and he was also wearing 2 hip pouches on the left and right side. He took out his cornrows and just put his hair in a simple ponytail with his headband still across his forehead. You're early. Arashi looked to his left and saw his teammate for the exams Sasuke Uchiha approach at a casual pace. Can't you feel the excitement, Sasuke? Better early than too late. Now all we need is Sakura and we can get to moving. Here she comes, Sasuke said, gesturing in the opposite direction he had come. Arashi turned to look, and sure enough there was the pink-haired Kunoichi. Hey Sakura, you ready for this? Arashi asked as she approached. As ready as I'll ever be, Arashi-san. Good morning, Sasuke-kun, Sakura replied. HN, was the response reserved for fangirls. Since we're all here, let's do it, Arashi said, walking through the gate with his teammates following behind him. Team 7 made their way in silence until they came up on a scene in the middle of the hallway. The door leading to the exam room was barred by two guys. One had spiky hair and 3 bandages on his lower face, and the other had brown hair and a blue bandana-style headband on. They were knocking around a guy in green spandex with a bowl cut and a girl in a pink Chinese shirt with her hair styled in 2 buns. "Just let us through. We have to take the exam," the girl said. "You think you're ready to be Chunin? Come back when you grow up. People die in these things," the one in the blue bandana said. "Why don't you drop the genjutsu and stop cluttering the hall? We have an exam to take," Sasuke said. Arashi refused to face fault at the stupid arrogance of the Uchiha. If he knew, why did he open his mouth? "You saw through that genjutsu, didn't you, Sakura?" Sasuke asked the pinkett. "Of course I did, Sasuke-kun. It was obvious," Sakura said. Arashi barely restrained himself from face-faulting at that obvious lie. "Why don't you make me move, punk?" the one with the spiky hair said before launching a kick at Sasuke, who threw a kick himself. Before either one could connect, the boy in the green spandex appeared in between them and caught both attacks. "He's fast and strong," Arashi thought. "Why don't you both save it for the exams? That is where the best will be determined," the bowl-cut guy said. Sasuke and the spiky-haired Stranber broke apart and regrouped before the spiky-hair guy and his friend took off down the hall out of sight. "Way to go, Lee. It was your idea to hide our strength, remember?" The person who spoke was obviously of the Hyuga clan with the trademark white eyes. He was wearing a black headband with 2 straps hanging from the sides and a khaki shirt and brown pants with his right arm and leg wrapped in athletic tape. "I'm sorry, Neji, Tenten. I forgot my own plan just that quickly," the now named Lee said by way of apology. "Forget about it, Lee," the girl Tenten said. "That plan wouldn't have lasted long anyway," Neji said, coming to stand next to his teammates and taking a good look at the other Genin team. His eyes wandered over both Sasuke and Sakura before dismissing them both. Before his eyes rested on the blonde shinobi. "What's your name?" Neji demanded. Arashi completely ignored the pale-eyed teenager and approached his lovely teammate. "My name is Arashi. May I have the honor of knowing yours?" he said. Tenten was stunned. Boys didn't flirt with her. They treated her like one of the guys. Most of the time they didn't even realize she was a girl. "Higurashi, Tenten Higurashi, nice to meet you," she said, sticking her hand to shake. Arashi grabbed her hand and brought it to his masked lips and kissed the back of it. Tenten's blush could put a red apple to shame. "That is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen on a kunoichi," he said softly. "Wah! What are you talking about?" Tenten stammered. "The calluses on your hands, they're beautiful. They show your dedication to training. It's the most beautiful thing ever on a kunoichi." During Arashi and Tenten's introduction, Neji stood there stunned, first at being ignored and then as his teammate was turned into putty. "Hey, I asked your name." "No, you demanded my name. It's Arashi, by the way. Being from a noble clan, I could only They tried to teach you manners and the lessons just didn't take," Arashi said mildly. "Know your place, commoner." Before Neji could register that Arashi had moved, he was staring eye to eye with a fly. Holding the fly by the wings with his fingertips was Arashi. "Just remember, Hyuga, nobility doesn't mean a damn thing on the battlefield, only skill," Arashi said before letting the fly go. "Tenten, it was a pleasure to meet you. I hope to get to know you in the future," Arashi said before making his way back to his teammates and continuing down the hall towards the 3rd floor. They were in an open area about to climb the stairs to the 3rd floor when they were stopped. "Hold it right there," the green-clad genin said. "You are Sasuke Uchiha, right? I wish to fight you, for the love of Sakura Haruno," they announced loudly. Sasuke smirked at the weird bowl-cut wearing genin. "Sure, I could use a warm-up." "We don't have time for this, Sasuke," Arashi warned. "Don't worry, this won't take long," urged his team. "Fine, but don't take him lightly, it could end in embarrassment," Arashi warned. "Doubtful," Sasuke said as he faced off with the strange genin known as Rock Lee. "Even though you know who I am, you still no want to fight. That takes a lot of guts. We will see if you are still as confident when I beat you. A fair warning, out of all the Leaf genin participating in the exams today, I am the strongest and I'll prove it to you right now," Lee declared. The two opponents squared off against each other. Sasuke was in a casual stance, apparently not taking the match seriously, and Lee was in the opening stance of the strong fist style. He was turned sideways with his left arm behind his back and his right hand held out in a bring it on gesture, and Sasuke decided to bring it. He sprinted forward in an effort to catch his opponent off guard, and once he was in range he threw a right cross and connected with nothing as his opponent had disappeared in a display of speed. He reappeared above Sasuke already in mid-turn, Leaf Hurricane. Sasuke ducked under the roundhouse kick and following his opponent's movements held his hands in front of his face in a guard position. Rock Lee continued his rotation from the missed roundhouse and attacked with another kick from a crouching position that went straight through Sasuke's guard and nailed him in the face. Sasuke! Was Sakura's shout of surprise from watching Sasuke take the hit. Sasuke was thrown backwards by the power of the kick and laid on the ground stunned for a few moments. What was that? I know I held my guard up, Sasuke thought. If I had my Sharingan I would take this guy apart. Sak went back on the attack, throwing everything he could at his opponent. Jab, jab, right hook, sweep kick. Sasuke thought, but nothing worked. It was either blocked or avoided. Sasuke threw another right cross with everything he had in it, but it was caught and countered with an elbow to the stomach that sent him crashing into the wall behind him. Sasuke Uchiha, why do you not use your Sharingan? If you wish to beat me, that is the only way to do so. I don't need the Sharingan to beat you. Sasuke snarled and charged once again. I believe there are two types of ninja in this world. Those that are born with talent like you and those that have to train hard every day of their lives like me. I'll show you hard work beats natural talent any day of the week. Lee proclaimed before stopping Sasuke's charge with a spinning back kick to the chin that launched Sasuke into the air. Lee crouched on the ground and then vanished in a blur and reappeared beneath Sasuke's still floating body, dancing leaf shadow. Now you're finished, Lee said as the bandages around his arm began to unravel. Before they unraveled too much, a pinwheel pinned the end of the loose wrappings into the wall, surprising all those in the room. That's enough, Lee, a large red tortoise said. Oh no, this is bad, Lee said, throwing his body into a backflip to land on the ground in a crouching position before sprinting to kneel in front of the talking animal. Sasuke, too stunned by the events that just transpired, was saved from further injury when Sakura broke his fall. Arashi joined his two teammates as he watched the animal tear into the green glad genin. What were you thinking, Lee? You're forbidden from using that technique, especially on a fellow Leaf Shinobi, you know that. I wasn't going to use it, I just got caught up in the fight, that's all, honest, Lee said, trying to defend himself. Silence. You think a lame excuse like that is going to fly? A shinobi never reveals his techniques unless absolutely necessary, and from watching this fight, it was completely uncalled for. That's such a basic rule, it should be tattooed on your brain. Now stand and prepare to take the punishment for your actions. Yes, sir, Lee said, resigned to his fate. Come on out, Guy-sensei. In a puff of smoke a man appeared on the turtle's back. He was very tall and he was wearing a matching outfit to Lee's except no hand wraps, and he was wearing an unzipped Jonin flak jacket. He even matched Lee's bowl haircut and had way thicker eyebrows. Hey there guys and gals, what's shaking? Guy-sensei said, standing proud with his hands on his hips and beaming a pearly white smile to all those in the room. He didn't get an answer as Team 7 was busy sweat dropping at the appearance of the original that Lee was cloned after. The silence didn't last long as Guy-sensei scolded his wayward student. I'm very disappointed in you, Lee. Are you ready for your punishment? Yes, Guy-sensei. Okay. You little idiot. Guy yelled as he punched Lee in the face and sent him skidding along the floor. When he stopped moving, Guy approached his downed student and looked at him with a river flowing from each eye. Lee looked at his sensei with the same expression on his face. Sensei, I'm so sorry. It's okay, Lee, I forgive you. Your youthful exploits are all a part of growing up. Brace yourselves, people, here it comes. Guy-sensei. Lee. Guy-sensei. Lee. Guy-sensei. Lee. Something bad is about to happen, turn away quick. Arashi said, but it was too late for his teammates. They were forced to witness the most exuberant man hug known to the world. complete with a sunset and crashing waves as a backdrop. Now Lee give me 100 laps around the practice field as further punishment for disobeying orders. Yes sir. Guy-sensei. Wait, what about the Chunin exams? There's no time for laps right now, Sakura said. Oh, I forgot about that. Make that 500 laps for also disrupting the Chunin exams. Guy said. Yes Guy-sensei. Ah Lee, I'm proud to be your sensei. Your flames of youth are inspiring, Guy said to his student with pride before finally taking notice of the other 3 people in the room. That has to be Kakashi's squad, Guy thought to himself. Hey, how's my old rival Kakashi doing? You know Kakashi-sensei? Sakura asked. Sure do. We're eternal rivals, have been for years, Guy stated before simply disappearing. My record is 50 wins and 49 losses, which is one better than Kakashi, he finished saying from behind Team 7. The facts of the matter is I'm stronger than Kakashi, faster too. Whoa, that was all speed, he didn't even use chakra to help him, Arashi thought. He's definitely faster than Kakashi, Sasuke thought. Guy-sensei is the greatest shinobi in the world, no one can defeat him. Lee exclaimed after his sensei's great show of speed. Enough Lee, you all better get going before it's too late. Good luck Lee. Show the world your flames of youth, my precious student. Yes Guy-sensei. I will. Well Guy-sensei, it was nice meeting you. Lee, how about after these exams we have a friendly spar? I'm a student of hard work myself. I would like to know which one of us has worked the hardest. My name's Arashi by the way, Arashi said to Rock Lee. I would be honored to battle a fellow student of hard work, Arashi-san. Good, then it's a deal. After the exams, Arashi said before making his way to the stairs and up to the 3rd floor followed by the rest of the team. I can't believe I lost to that freak. If I had the Sharingan I would have wiped the floor with him, Sasuke growled out between clenched teeth. Not likely Sasuke, Arashi said calmly. Who asked you? Didn't you see the scars on his hands when he took the wraps off? Some of those scars were fresh, I wouldn't be surprised if he was out training this very morning. He probably trains until he drops every day, and even with the Sharingan you would have trouble, Arashi explained. Whatever, was the Uchiha's response. As they rounded the corner they stopped in surprise to see Kakashi leaning against the wall next to the door leading to the exam room. Kakashi-sensei, what are you doing here? Sakura asked. I'm here to wish you all good luck in the exams. I was also here to stop you if you showed up without the full team. I thought you said the exams were optional, Sakura said. They are optional as a team. I didn't want anyone pressured into participating before they were ready, but since you all showed up on your own it doesn't matter anymore. Beyond this door is another step towards your future goals. Good luck, Kakashi said before disappearing in a cloud of smoke. Well, let's go, this exam isn't going to take itself, Arashi said, kicking the door in and striding through. As soon as he entered he was blasted with intent strong enough to make a fly faint. This was nothing compared to the intent he felt from people like Zabuza or his own senseis. He glanced out the side of his eyes to see how Sasuke and Sakura were doing. Sasuke was shrugging it off with no effort, but Sakura was already shaking in her sandals. Remember what I said back in Wave about intent, Sakura? Sakura looked into Arashi's calm blue eyes and remembered what he said back in Wave about using your own intent to offset someone else's. Taking a moment to calm herself, she was about to think of something that would piss her off enough to shake off this intent when the answer landed in her lap, or more precisely on Sasuke's back. Oh Sasuke-kun, I've missed you so much. Being apart for so long has been dreadful, Ino Yamanaka, Sakura's old friend and new rival, said from Sasuke's back. The intent was completely forgotten as she saw this. Back off, Ino, pigged Sasuke's mind. Well, if it isn't Miss Forehead, they let anyone into these exams apparently, Ino said in a haughty tone. They let pigs in here, don't they? What did you say, billboard brow? Ino demanded, glaring into Sakura's eyes. You heard me, Sakura said, glaring right back. Do you two have to be so loud and troublesome all the time? A lazy voice said, interrupting the screaming match. Mind your business, slacker. Ino snapped. It is my business. Your screaming match is bringing a lot of unwanted attention, the slacker pointed out. Ino and Sakura looked at the other participants in the room and sure enough all eyes were on them, and they didn't look too happy. Once Sakura stopped arguing with Ino, the intent came back seemingly stronger than before. Ino was also feeling the effects. Arashi, tired of the minuscule intent, approached the top of the stairs and looked out at the other participants. What the air you looking at? Arashi screamed and unleashed intent that flooded the entire room. While most of the aspiring chunin were paralyzed, the truly weak ones collapsed under the weight of the intent. Arashi cut the flow of intent and went back to his team. When Arashi returned, he saw that 3 more people and a dog had joined the cluster of chunin candidates. One was an Inuzuka male, a female Hyuga, and the last guy could have been anyone. The only thing that could be seen was spiky brown hair and sunglasses. Who the hell are you? That was unreal, the Inuzuka said.